Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's stream where I will be going over the Helios versus ESPT match on Kharkov. Helios was the Allies, ESPT as the Axis. And this was a high-stakes seasonal match, if you will. I believe it was a battle for one of the upper brackets after Helios lost a couple games. But we fought back, and we were going to compete with ESPT to move on to the upper bracket, maybe get a bye week, that sort of thing. And so I figured just to walk through this game and kind of just walk through Kharkov, and then also give you, just my live feedback during the game. And if you have any questions about the Hell Let Loose competitive scene, or just general questions at all about maybe what we did here, just go ahead and drop a comment below, and I'll get back to you, buddy. Okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in here. Now, Kharkov was a sort of a strategic choice, as the Allies have the advantage on most of the points here. And plus, when it comes to the opening and the truck snipes as well, right? And I think, with the exception of St. Mary's, Allies have a pretty good vantage point on both sides. And so ESPT is a damn good team. We all know this, right? And we have to sort of pick the map advantage, right? So ESPT is sort of Helios' arch nemesis, if you will. We've never beaten them, except for some minor scrims and stuff like that didn't really count. So no official match victories over ESPT. So we're still looking for that first one. And here and during the seasonal match, we gave it a shot on Kharkov. Okay. So we'll go ahead and
between Helios and
let's go ahead and skip ahead here.
I'll be sure to get back to you.
So this was before the predetermined layouts that we're kind of dealing or working with now in HCA. And so this was, you have to prep for all 3 points. And this time it landed on Distillery. And with Distillery, if we zoom in here real quick, which I think I will, maybe not. But with Distillery, we have the housing complex on the west-hand side, and then the housing complex on the east side. And we have a big building sort of in the middle, right? And with that, we just always, it's going to be about where you place your tanks and between the building complexes to see if they could splash the corners and stuff like that. Because the light tanks will be very vulnerable once they step outside to the enemy medium, right? And then when it comes to these building fights, you have to tell your infantry to put down satchels as much as possible. Because if there's anything that'll help clear out the buildings, it's a good satchel. And then also putting down mines everywhere as well as you can. So AP mines, right? So when the enemy walks through the doorways and everything, maybe they'll hit a mine and you'll get an advantage. But in the opening here, we were hoping to push down to the south here and maybe box them out. So let me go ahead and maximize this a little bit. But we were hoping to solely box them out of the buildings here and relegate them back here to this line, which is an open field. And so that way artillery can control one lane, and while the infantry are able to control the other lane. Now keep in mind, you also have to worry about the church over here on the left-hand side, or the west in the middle, right? Because of the great sight lines, you could put MGs up in there and everything. So first strategic point for the Allies will be to secure strong cap, right? But also you have to split a decent amount of force to control church. Okay. Just in case they start to get advantage on the point, you can set up some reflank options for from the church area to push east and maybe try to slip some bodies behind the line across the railroad tracks to get their tanks. So let's go ahead.
Delay at least 2 seconds. If the rocket snipe.
Let's go ahead and continue on here.
I'm in the city headspace right now.
Let's get this bread.
So we have the recon tank on the left-hand side ready for the truck snipes. Under a minute left to go. Supply drops coming down. So we have a recon tank up here, transport truck. OPs are up on the line. So for those of you who don't know, what happens in competitive play is that in the beginning, certain people are assigned to build nodes. And whoever is building the nodes won't have time to jump in the opening truck, right? And so all the squad leads jump into the trucks and they head towards the front line. And when they get there, they plop their OP down. And then whoever was building nodes redeploys. And by the time the OP timer is up, they get on the OP, jump in the truck, and there you go. Left-hand side, we have a Logi truck. Okay, so that's heading down here. Then they'll try to get up a good area up here in the blue zone. and then they're going to try to circle around and get up a Gary on Lumberyard. So if there's one thing against ESPT, the opening cap is never guaranteed, but if you do cap it, you want to try to get pressure on fourth as soon as possible because they're going to be going all in, and really it's going to be once again, they have really great shooters and everything. So you never know how long the battle of attrition is going to be in the opening against them. So let's continue on here. So we'll skip ahead just a little bit. So I'm just driving the supply truck up to the front line.
All right, let's go.
Okay, driving the supply truck. I turned down my volume because the truck engine is so freaking loud, and that I can't hear teammates or anything like that. So
tanks hitting buildings.
Okay, so we have everything's going through. All the markers are down. I'm trying to drop supplies here. So this will be the backup Gary, because I don't know on Kharkov exactly what kind of snipes they have set up from a long run, right? And so when you are setting up for the long run, when you're playing a map like this where they have unbelievable sight lines, I never know if I'm going to get sniped. So usually I drive farther along up to the church area, drive farther and set up the first Gary and more towards the front line. But in this case, I didn't want to take the chance of me getting a T-gun sniped or something from some crazy spot. So I set up the first Gary and back here.
Gotcha. They've got a snipe going down the H column road.
Rockets incoming.
Yeah, rockets inbound.
Tank.
Yes, to your question, I always take the first opening supply truck. And then the second supply truck is spawned for the other person that's setting up the other Garys.
Shit. Hey, test. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sam, what's going on with that garrison?
I died out of the truck off.
Okay, so far everything's looking pretty good. We have the squads heading towards church area, right? So they're all jumping out. The OPs and everything will be going up shortly. We have the Gary over on the west flank. So Jake's squad has put up that Gary. So that'll be sort of like the backup reflank Gary. Because remember, you always want to try to maximize the Garys you're laying out, right? And so that way, you just have as many spawn points available as possible. All the tanks are moving into points. We have all the markers going up, right? Artillery's starting to drop. And yeah, looks like everybody's in good position.
The wall drop.
See if you can reveal that garrison.
Why is T squad all the way up there? So T squad is all the way up here because there's an AT gun spot that we can put up on the hill over here. And so they're back there. They're OP back there to set up that long range AT gun spot that we can knock out tanks possibly like way back here as long as we have really good marks.
Thank you.
Proxy's gonna be reset off OPs.
I got a Lux map edge right now, pushing map edge.
Okay, and then also in competitive play, you'll see the marker on the top right. So it says Gato Rocket has become your team's designated artillery player. So in competitive play now, kind of like the standard rule set is at 1 unkillable artillery, right? And if this player is killed, then there's a script that runs in the background. I think that kills 10 or 15 random people on the team that killed the arty, right? So that way it's their punishment. And so tank crews can be killed. Suddenly you have abandoned tanks on the field, or a squad that was pushing is suddenly wiped out. So it's very good counterbalance to teams that might
Puma map edge.
abuse the rule.
Enemy Lux. Train tracks. Diving.
Okay, so we have pretty good OP placement right now. We have a front door Gary here, sort of front door Gary here, backup Gary in case our fourth point. We have a Gary over here. We're getting a Gary up here, and should make room for Garys on the hard cap here shortly. So yeah,
Diving.
make sure you have AT rockets in your squads, guys. So one thing that is got to have in your squads off the opening, especially, is AT rockets. And so don't tell them to go satchel class because in the beginning there's no heavies. So we have to spam bazookas at as many enemy tanks as possible. So very important to have AT in your squads at the top.
Luke's.
Going towards D.
Explo ammo team, Explo ammo. So there I'm calling out for the team to put down Explo ammo. So in Ventrilo, whoa, blast back in time there. But in TeamSpeak, you can make team calls to the entire team to put down Explo ammo.
Recon tank is sniping towards church.
Oh, I just haven't put the mark. I haven't clicked the button yet. I'm driving, so I'm not too worried about that mark up there, buddy. But it'll go away shortly.
Recon is up. Recon is up.
Designated artillery mark.
Too many more. Okay, I see it coming in.
Okay, so it's looking really good here. We're at about 60% cap or something like that, right? Team is calling out to get up garrisons as soon as possible.
Light vehicle.
Okay, so we have church control. All OPs are clear around church. So yeah, off the opening, it looks really good, right? It looks really good. The team is solidifying the line and everything. We have an AT gun back here, and yeah, everything is going really well. But against ESPT, you just know they're never out. They're never out. They're such a well-oiled machine at this point, whereas a lot of other teams have disbanded and merged with others and new people that, right? So ESPT is a well-oiled machine at this point. They've been playing together for years, so 3-4 years or whatever it is, maybe 5. And so you have other teams like Helios that have been a bunch of different groups, and at this point have only been playing together for about a year, right? And so we're still learning. We're not as well-oiled as ESPT might be.
Okay, team, let's get ready to go. Gary's up. Go support, please. Drop supply.
Yeah, that's correct, buddy. There was a Helios before, but due to just a lack of signups and stuff like that, and some other things as well, it was sort of disbanded in a way, and most of us joined TL, and then some joined Syndicate, and others ESPT. WTH was another one. So we all split off into different ways. And then we decided to restart it, I believe, in like August 2023.
Defense infantry, see if you can reinforce a little the west side.
Golf, Mike, do you want me to drive the sub truck to you and give you...
Okay, so we've capped distillery, and then on the Allies side of the Russians, you have the Katyusha strike. So not a bombing run, but a Katyusha strike. So the munitions cost is 300, like a bombing run, but the cooldown is 5 minutes. So not sure if that makes total sense. Maybe it should be like 200 munitions. I don't know. But I'm just trying to clear out the bottom side of the point. Maybe I'll get lucky and, I don't know, kill enough for them to push. But hindsight, maybe I should have dropped it farther back to maybe get a Gary, but I'm not too sure. Not too sure. So the control over the strong point isn't great. ESPT still is heavily pushing from the south here. We still have our tanks near the point, but it's just the strong cap is not fully secure yet. And ESPT still has pretty damn good presence here. Okay, so we're about only 8 minutes into the game so far.
Let's get a Gary up around St. Mary, guys. Get a Gary up around St. Mary.
Yeah, so this is always a challenge in competitive plays where you don't see enough Garys on the map, right? You want to encourage your guys to get Garys up, but there's always times where there's situations in their area where it's like Artie's falling, and maybe Artie destroys the supply box, right? And they're like, crap. I have to get another guy to go support because that guy who just dropped it is on a cooldown, right? And then I'll drop a supply drop. Maybe that gets destroyed by artillery. Or the squad lead's about to put it up, but he gets grenaded or something, right? Or he gets shot. So you just have to trust that squad leads are always trying to do their best to do things. Now, if everything is clear, like around them, the OPs are all clear and everything, and there's no Gary up, then you can be like, hey, can you get that? Can you take a second to get that Gary up? There's been situations where I try to do that. So I'll zoom in on the map and make sure I understand what position they're in. And then when it comes to the hard cap as well, that's where you know it's going to be chaos. So I don't put too much pressure on them. And but if I notice things going green and clear, then I'll kind of remind them to set something up.
LOP needs to spawn on it. They're wrapping it.
Okay, so Love Squad calls out saying, hey, they're wrapping it, right? And so their ESPT sending bodies behind to try to get some flank pressure in. And that's where it sort of causes chaos because they could slip somebody behind here, SL, maybe get something back up, and then they can really destroy our back line. And you see George Squad's OP is warm as well. So that's where you have to make sure to call out like, hey, George Squad's OP is warm. Mike Squad, can you turn around and see what's going on? Because we can lose Mike Squad's OP, that's fine. We can't lose where George Squad is, right? Because then they start just pouring down pressure everywhere.
Sees you heard that, love OP.
Luke's is on Baker.
We lost an OP north of church.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
we lost
called
it.
out. It's called out.
LOP needs to spawn on it. They're wrapping it.
Lost the garrison. This, see if you can rebuild it.
Yeah, I'll try to get another box.
I know.
I'm getting a Gary.
Just driving along, just driving. Oh. A little adjustment needed there.
We pulled one
I
of the
killed
OPs on this
Clownface.
attack, but their other one's
Copy.
still up.
With the Katusha. The one kill with the Katusha. 300 munitions for one kill.
Drop Explo ammo.
Absolutely amazing.
Please.
Explo ammo team. Explo ammo. Okay, so just calling out to the team for some Explo ammo there. So if we look at the map situation here, as I mentioned in the beginning, one of the goals was to box out ESPT from this area here, but it hasn't happened, right? They're still obviously putting a lot of pressure on the strong cap, so it's not secure, right? And we could try to get some flank pressure from the church, but there's a certain amount of coverage, right, that ESPT is going to have when they're pushing up, so maybe not going to be able to be too effective. So maybe in this case, we have a lot of bodies around the strong cap, so maybe we could have pulled a few more, but really I'm not too sure. It comes down to fragging, right, and just who's winning that trade, those trade fights. So in this case, I think it's about even maybe at this point, but ESPT starting to get the advantage.
Still hard cap right now.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
gonna be able to Gary up on the east.
one of our squad leads calls out, hey, they have control of the strong cap, right?
I have to push
So that
into
means
the enemy to build.
everybody in the circle counts as 3.
Diz, we're gonna help you take east side here.
Copy.
We've got space to work with.
It's really this Luke's. It's splashing where I want to build.
It's on flare right now.
Gas, just call me if you need me anything. I'm just
Okay, I'm dropping backup supplies.
Gary's
So we have still okay control over church. We have OPs lighting up, right? So not 100%. We have the not 100% clear. We have the Gary north south of Lumberworks lighting up. And then we have the recon tank doing shenanigans back here. We also have the supply truck driving around as well. So ESPT missed that coming around, or maybe just they missed their shots or something like that. Weren't able to get it down. But yeah, so it's looking okay, but still dicey, right? We have really no presence in the hard cap, and our guys can't get there.
Alright, Stan, I'm gonna hop over to you.
My OP's warm.
So we'll skip ahead here. So if we go back here, we can zoom in just a little bit. Oop.
There's a mark tank.
Gary's hot.
Alright, Stan, I'm gonna hop over to you.
My OP's warm.
So zooming in here, we see the building complexes we have some control over, right? But ESPT still has plenty of launch sections right here. And artillery is going to be sort of effective, but they can easily be in the buildings, right? And so that's where on these kind of condensed urban conditions, artillery is sort of like you're never too sure. So maybe we should have had artillery fall towards the hard cap right here just to keep them from running into these buildings, just lock them out from there. We do have the tank here. We do have a couple infantry in the trenches, but still ESPT has an excellent launch position. They're going to be bringing their first heavy up here shortly. So yeah, it's still very, very dicey.
We're about to lose the guys.
And I mean, the guys are, everybody's fighting the best they can, right? But it's just, it's very, very rocky.
I think my OP just got killed. The guy was on it.
That Gary on the west by Dog does prevent us from building east.
For now,
we
keep
can
fighting for
adjust that
artillery
here.
until we flush them out, gas.
Yeah, so maybe there was a call that I missed in chat that I should have addressed. So the garrison by Dog, right? So this Gary right here, you always got to be so careful with your garrison placements because you just gosh, he just they're so key. And so maybe I should have I either I didn't really pay too much attention to that, or I was looking at something else. I'm not too sure, but I should have probably dismantled Dog's garrison, and then have them put one up in the east, and then have Dog because they have more room to work with. I think a little bit more room. Because the St. Mary's Gary could have been shifted as well. So that maybe that was probably a key mistake right there. Because over on the east side of Distillery, that's all open fields. So you're not going to be able to put up a Gary over there.
F4 going down.
Whereas the west, I think you're going to have a little bit more wiggle room.
West side by church, probably.
I got flare F4.
But do we know which one is open right now?
Light front door on the gap.
Check them up. I would say probably east side.
Looks like map edge.
What can we do to kill this Luke's at H6?
Yeah, so the squad lady's asking, hey, there's a Luke's here that's just destroying us from being able to push much, right? And so sometimes the tanks they can take it out, right? But they don't know where the enemy medium is, or they know the enemy heavy is going to be in a certain spot and they'll get killed instantly, right? So armor always has to be so careful when they try to push and take out a light tank, because teams will use light tanks or recon tanks as bait, right? So they'll say, hey, come kill this Luke's. Come do it. I dare you. I double dog dare you. And then the enemy heavy pokes out and wipes him out.
Here on the map, see if you can deploy a SAT. If you can handle that.
Okay, so we'll skip ahead a little bit here. 118 left on the clock. Still good control. We have Gary up at church. We have flares going up in the back line. ESPT's trying to wrap around. Could be trying to send AT players to get to our heavy, right? Our OPs are all clear. We still could use a Gary on the east side. Don't have a Gary on the east side yet. So that's a little bit iffy. We do have a tank over there. But once again, ESPT still very strong controls. They are holding on to their bridgehead. We did manage to clear strong cap a little bit, though.
Drop Explo ammo, please. I need more Explo ammo on the west side.
Okay, guys, listen. They're wrapping through the 5 and 4 row of F column.
Yeah, 5 and 4 row of F column, right? So they're wrapping through.
We're holding front, but they're behind us. Command, yes or no, garrison F7.
We just need to
Yeah, build it.
northwest of church.
Okay, so Jig Squad's going to try to get a Gary up in F7 here to maybe release some SLs to get pressure on their fourth cap. Because if there's one thing right now, when you look at the situation, you would kind of guess the ESPT's almost all in. They have a side fourth point, so they know it's going to take a lot of time for bodies to get around and attack, right? So most likely they're all in right now with hardly anybody in the lumberyard, maybe Incha or their commanders back there.
Close. It's the one by Dog. The one by Dog is 150 for me. So can we adjust the one by Dog west further, Huzzah? Or you pinned from the
Whammo Gary on P. Whammo Gary on P. Exact.
It's okay, and they don't have control
Oh,
of
never
the
mind.
south
No,
houses.
I'm just kidding.
It's okay. We need to sort this out.
We have a flex option, Widow.
P4 where?
Okay, so I call for a flex option. So flex option is in G8 right there, right? And so we could send a SL or two to maybe set up shop and move towards lumberyard. But still, once again, this whole area here is dicey.
Try to push it further west.
Copy, I'm in position to place.
Do you want me to take that whammo since I'm on?
On the west side, sorry.
It's a Gaver.
Yep, I'm gonna...
Okay, it's down this.
Okay, so the Gary was dismantled. So remember, it's about 5 minutes after initially called out, right? So I take that upon me. I should have heard that initially and be like, oh, okay, let's figure this out right now, because the garrison could be so key. Garrison placement's so key. So if you're commanding a game, just try to really understand the Gary positions and how, just be constantly thinking about, can we improve this situation? Can we shift some things around? Can I drop supplies preemptively to maybe get something new up, right?
Roger.
Okay, so right now we're technically without a garrison on the hard cap, right? And so you're constantly pushing back that 40-second spawn timer over and over and over again. And now we have some OPs lighting up. Supplies just got hit by RDC. He called that out. And then that's, you just go,
F7 clear.
So now he has to wait on supplies. And once again, that timer is ticking, man. That timer is ticking. We don't have any Garys around the hard cap.
Yeah, watch railroad proxy.
IS-1 is upright. IS-1 is upright.
Crossing through the open on Nagat infantry.
So Gary just got set up west, but remember that was like 30 seconds ago, right, or something like that. So 70 seconds of delayed spawns on the point. Yep,
east
OPs
side
are getting
low.
wiped now. East side is still looking dicey.
I mean, yeah, it's really just we're garrison cucked.
Yeah.
Can't build like anywhere useful.
Then I get killed in the
Okay,
supply
for
truck.
Garrison, cut that back, Garrison. Dismantle weapons, and get a hard
Oh,
cap
my
now.
favorite thing that happened to me.
We have
And I
a
just died. I can't cover you.
Smithers, you need to dismantle H4 so we can get a hard cap area in these.
I'm on the.
The one in Lambert works. It's really
Yeah,
weak.
so, yeah, to your question, I'm on the. I should have moved H4 back, like they just mentioned. So good call out, buddy. But I don't know. It's one of those things where I was a little bit worried about not having some presence back there, but we could have shifted that one back a little bit for sure.
Smithers, you saw
So now we have all these OPs lighting up, and it's just not looking good. Not looking good. And you know when the enemy team is confident usually, except for, let me just finish this thought. But you know when the team's confident when they drop an airhead, when they attack, because they're like, okay, hey, we could finish this off if we have an extra spawn, right? And we should be able to punch everything in.
Dude, that already's fucking my
Although ESPT has been known to
Kharkov
drop,
in east.
I mean, in some matches we played against them, they dropped 3-4 airheads
Distillery?
that we've all dismantled. But you think about it, that's 1,200 or 1,600 manpower, right? And it's 1,200 for 3, 1,600 for 4. That's like a lot of manpower to burn through. So it makes me kind of curious what their resource conversion strategy is, if they prioritize armor as much as I do. So they do have good fraggers on their team, so maybe they don't need to prioritize it as much.
Guys, G4's lighting. They're behind
So
you.
there, it's just like I try to drop a Katusha strike and say, okay, well, maybe I can save it. I don't know, though. With all those buildings, I'm not too sure. So this looks, at this point, looks like it's going to be a reset.
Stand behind you. North.
Yeah, it's about near
Smithers,
Able
get
Mark.
this-
Okay, so we go on here. We're losing the point for sure now. We have a Gary up to the west, but we have nobody in hard cap, nobody around hard cap. About to lose items OP here. We do have defense ready to go on Lumberworks just in case. We have some presence at church. So Kharkov with all the open field and everything is going to be a little bit dicey. So you have to make sure you really understand the maps you're playing
4 on the gap.
to see where we should be defending, where we should have bodies, where we should have a lot of bodies, where we should have a little bit of bodies. And so very, very key to study the maps and the terrain so you know where to go, what we need. So I get a couple of kills on the Katusha.
So your
Yippee.
renditions. P4 is diving into the gap right now. We're diving.
So yeah, not looking too good. The infantry now can push us all up. And church control still okay. I'm dropping supplies to the west here. We have a tank rolling up to the east. So we still have a chance to reestablish the line. It's just, it's going to be tough to punch ourselves back in there.
Cut.
Okay, so command chat usually gets kind of quiet after we lose a point because everybody's like, crap. And yeah, so it just takes a few minutes to reset everything.
Right, I need to destroy a supply track. I just killed the driver.
Okay, so we'll skip ahead here a little bit.
Yep.
I'm
Tiger and
my
Queen
OP's
mark?
right next to Lumberworks, and I'm looking at my love mark.
Okay, so we have a couple AT guns up here. We have the heavy rolling up to support the attack and everything. So this is sort of, it's dangerous right here. Probably should have done some more reorganization, but Meat Grind or the squad that's supposed to take the central thrust isn't 100% clear on this map because you sort of have to split meat grind between these buildings here and then the middle right here in a way. We had church control, but they were leaking bodies behind. And so you have to really understand these gaps in your map here. And so this is definitely a weak spot because we really don't have many bodies. And you can sort of get a false sense of security if you show some clear spots right there.
There's guys
Because they could easily be
All right, I'm
leaking
gonna put my
around.
OP in the trench then.
Yeah,
Enemy
go
plane
ahead.
fly over.
Saint Mary for now, because the team is gonna be busy with distillery. So let's focus on that for now.
Okay, so we skip ahead. So by this point, I'm trying to drive the truck around here, but front door by church is looking really weak, and we only have a couple bodies there. So it's just not looking the greatest. Maybe we should have reorganized some more bodies from here and moved them to front door, because we can give up this. We can't give up this right there, right in the middle. It looks very, very thin. Because if a few trades, if you lose a few trades, then suddenly the gap blows wide open. And wham, bam, shabammo, they get you. Okay, so we'll skip ahead here, and we see here the gap forming, right? All these infantry marks going down, and I failed as commander to sort of recognize. I thought maybe it was okay, but I should have done some. I should have asked for some more reorganization here.
Sound for now, keep roaming between the bridge and number 1. You need to lock that.
We're getting AT'd from train tracks, like they're wrapping us east.
Yeah, so the tank crews are saying, hey, they're wrapping us from east, right? And so ESPT is sending bodies along these train tracks here and just sort of splitting out and just funneling through the line and getting our tanks in the back, right? And once again, we have this big gap forming here. We do have a Gary southwest of Church, but still this whole area is dicey. And that's front door of our 4th point.
Really quickly, the west.
Yeah.
I heard him, yeah.
Zan, there's a guy on the train tracks underneath you.
Okay, so now we just have like a 1 body or 2 bodies in distillery area. Front doors getting pushed back right up here. Well, the east side front door, if you will. And then this part right here is still wide open for ESPT to push bodies through and funnel and get to our point.
Does anybody have a mark on this movement?
Back to south.
They just rocketed our Gary.
Okay, so moving along here, we have some bodies in Church, but once again, all this area here is no bueno. And so it's just looking dicey. The back line looks okay, though. We have OPs, we have Garys up and everything, so we can collapse on the point if we need to, but front door desperately needs to be addressed. And I don't know why. I should have said something, but yeah. Okay, but we do have this backline Gary to maybe get some presence up at Church and push north and wipe them out. So could call for bodies up here to move the Church and wipe them out, so we could do some sort of control lumber works, but then control Church in a way. Not 100% sure what the best strategy would have been to do here, but yeah.
Alright, I died. They're definitely down there to the...
Wipe.
Yeah, they
we
got
not
me, but
send
I'm
like a
headed
squad
back
leader
in.
railroad?
Place your OP temporary in number works.
Tank destroyed.
Okay, it's always cool when you get a precision strike hit.
What mark?
I need Zan back here at rail though.
Nail the tank right
Commander
there.
Mark.
Zan, where'd you get
Commander Mark was
hit
destroyed.
from?
They came from under the bridge.
That OP south of you sees is lighting up. Yep, you just got killed.
Okay, so we're about 27 minutes into the game.
There's some MG directly south I was trying to spot.
My OP's lining up front door.
I think that Roger take.
Okay, and then we have some bodies pushing in southwest of Church here. We have the Garys all set up. Looking still okay. We have a front door OP here, so those are clear.
H6 map edge, you said.
Yeah, down by, see if you can join. See if you
Whatever, if it.
Panzer 4.
It's at MG, Pisces.
Panzer 4 P mark coming up.
I got their frontline Gary and St. Mary. South of Love, down.
Nice.
Okay, about 30 minutes into the match. Once again, front door of Distilleries looking okay, right? We have Lumberworks control here. Still trying to get full control of St. Mary, but it's difficult. The guys, everybody's trying here. We have some bodies pushing back here as well, and SL trying to make headway. Maybe get an OP up in the back line, right?
Enemy garrison destroyed backside of Distillery. AT gun dismanned.
Which tower is the problem on St. Mary? The north tower or the?
Okay, we'll move on here.
Roger is 100% Tiger. He is safe.
Now it's just a few minutes later, we see that the front door is still just wide open. Though Recon OP got wiped. So ESPT is dedicating more bodies up there because once again, once you have your armor and your own defensive area and you can push them into strong cap, that's a lot of defensive cap weight. And so ESPT has essentially free bodies to spare to send towards Lumberworks and attack front door here. They don't really care too much about these fringe attacks because it's just piecemeal, and as long as they win some basic gunfights here, just a couple, they're good, right? We're not dedicating 15 bodies here. We're dedicating 1, 2, maybe 4 or so, so they can afford to push more front door. And so that's some sort of thing. You can have a couple guys hang back, right? But then the rest of them push. Then over here in Distillery, you have your armor hold the defensive area. And you just have a few infantry up here. And so, you can get a really good advantage to attack here.
They have eyes
IS-1's getting satcheled. My IS-1's getting satcheled.
Okay, so moving along.
Okay, let's try to collapse, guys. Pinch them from top, from item, from option. My OP is down. I will try to replace it on the Kharkov.
Garrison on P.
Okay, so once again, front door still not being addressed. It's still pretty much open here. We should have had like a Gary here at least to act as a beacon to say if we're okay or not, because the enemy will always take out Garys. But we're fighting over church control here, and front door Distillery is looking okay still.
Garrison on P is down.
Tiger on dog.
Okay, so we'll move ahead here a little bit. ESPT's leaking bodies behind.
Spawn next IS-1 right, please.
Oop, gotta spawn a nice one real quick. ESPT's behind now, lighting up the Gary, so your squad leads have to pull back there and react to it, right? And that's going to leave less bodies to look at this southern area. Now, Mike's squad could have a good eye on this, right? But bodies could be leaking through still. Some players are really sneaky.
Then I got flare in
Wicks, enemy Tiger,
5.
my tank marker.
They're on that.
Okay, so the fourth defensive point is very just loose right now, for lack of a better word. Very thin, very thin.
Gotcha.
I need Artie on dog, Gary Mark.
I can't really put it anywhere, Pisces. We're getting shot from 5 different angles.
Can we get flares front door lumber when possible and see how big of a push they got?
Yeah, give me a second.
Inside building.
Okay, so 53 minutes.
We got supplies going down front door.
So we have the Gary lighting up on the west side. Infantry, they probably have some type of whammo Gary or far Gary over here that's leaking bodies to the east as well. And then you have these front door OPs lighting up here. Once again, this gap right here, probably a launch Gary around here. They're moving a tank up as well. The east side is holding a little bit.
We destroyed the garrison where the Tiger was.
Can I get 2 sup drops on Jig OP, 2 sup drops on Jig OP?
Widow, full squad on my body to your east.
Okay, so now the team has kind of reset to the defensive in a way, right? So you have a good disbursement of blueberries on the defensive here, but ESPT is in the armor advantage, I believe, here. So they've pushed a tank up front door in good coverage, so our tanks can't easily get to it. But we do have some flanking bodies in the background.
P4 pushing love.
50 minutes left on the clock. One of the Stukas takes out a nice one in the east. So we lost a heavy support from an angle attack there.
They're starting to push the creek into E3 garrison right now.
P4 is pushing in to lumber.
So this is a situation where I think I was trying to drive in the supply truck to get a flanking Gary up, right? Because once again, you got to expect teams to have something way out here. And so you got to have something to essentially counterflank them, right? And so we're only at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Garys, I think. 6 Garys, I think. And so we do have 2 open. Okay, so if we move on, 49 minutes left on the clock. I get something up. Sometimes you won't always have the most ideal Gary position. So you just got to get something up. I know it's kind of like an open field, right? But it's like, okay, time is of the essence. I'll just get something up here to act as radar. And maybe we'll be able to get a couple beneficial spawns on it.
Can I get 2 bodies?
Smaller spawns.
So now Lumberworks is lighting up. So they're just pouring through front door right now. Teams will set up launch Garys like up here, right? Or over here. So right in their blue sector so they can just shove bodies into the attack. We have tanks moving up and the tanks can dive behind the buildings so they can buy themselves time. to protect themselves from the enemy tanks, because all they want to do is splash infantry and count as cap weight.
We really need a hard cap garrison, honestly, like closer to lumberworks.
Okay, and then so we have a Gary up here to the, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Garys up. We have the tanks moving up here, but once again, they may not have the greatest angle. I'm going to try to calling a Katusha strike here, maybe, or I save it. Okay, I give it a shot, but the ESPT is just shoving bodies straight up here and getting into the hard cap. And so it goes back to those, the earlier plays, like I mentioned before, when it comes to that, so important to make sure you have the front door of your point covered, and just you have a good radar around your defensive points.
Get ready for reset, guys. We're gonna lose lumber.
Okay, so usually call out for everybody to get ready for a reset. Yeah, so reset basically means that, hey, squad leads, stick by your OPs and get ready to dismantle them and put new ones up. Because remember, OPs are on a cooldown if you've put them up recently.
Yeah, try to stay as
Get ready to reset your OPs, guys. Reset your OPs.
Hope you all like my sweater, by the way.
Garrison
We're
marker
gonna
just
get that
placed.
garrison in Fox 2 ASAP.
Yeah, once again, I to your question, I don't know what I was thinking before. It's sometimes I'm hesitant. Maybe it was a late night match, I forgot, but should be it should have been more. What's the word I'm trying to think of? It should have been more assertive, but it should have been more demanding in a way to ask the team to, hey, we got to fill front door. This is not good. They're just going to pour in. We can give up the east side. That's no problem. We can't give up front door because they're just going to pour in an attack.
Yeah, I need to supply on love.
Work with our tank.
So essentially, unless your team is just getting absolutely obliterated in the fragging game and the tanks are just getting dominated as well, you should not lose fourth point, because you do never want to underestimate the enemy's attack in your fourth point.
I can't.
I'm dead.
I start pushing front door.
Okay, so now the team is forced back onto their fifth point, right? And that's a tall order to come back. So for those of you who watched my previous matches against maybe GBI in Omaha, it's just really difficult to come back from down 1-4. So it's always better to try and reset to 2-3 and see if you can just win the ground back that way.
AT gun exact on P. P light vehicle. Oh, never mind.
Sorry, Gio.
Okay, so we'll skip ahead here a little bit, but pretty much we have, I mean, the line is okay, right? We have good coverage, make sure ESPT doesn't slip into our back line here. And then Armor is going to try to stack to do what they can. So we do have a potential to take a lumber work still. We're not over. It's 45 minutes left. We have Jig Squad here in the back line as well. So the map position isn't looking too shabby, but we'll skip ahead here a little bit.
Baker,
enemy garrison destroyed.
Okay, so this is where when you're down 4 or 1-4, you have a secret advantage in a way, right? Or, well, maybe not so secret, but when the enemy team is up 4-1, think about it this way. They have to dismantle Garys that they had on the defensive, right? So they have to dismantle Garys because they're at an 8 garrison limit. So they have to push a lot of Garys up, which is going to leave a lot of backline space that's not going to be covered by garrisons. And so when you're down 1-4, it's sort of like, I got them right where I want them in a way, right? And so if you're able to cap, in this case, Lumberworks, and you have a supply drop coming down the back line, you have an SL ready to go, you could catch them way off guard, and suddenly you're up 3-2. But the timing is everything, because you got to be able to cap and then set up that Gary and then launch everybody in there.
Roger, OP mark. That's in the creek.
So sometimes when you're down 1-4, what's the worst that can happen? Right, you're going to lose 0-5, right? So you could sacrifice one, maybe two SLs to wait by their mid cap to set up their OPs and flood those OPs, because they probably won't be ready.
Burned an OP on me.
Okay, so this is where I told Jig to say, hey, just head back there behind Distillery and just chill back there and see and just wait, because I have a good feeling that we're going to recap Lumberworks. Because look at our presence, look at our tanks, everything's looking really good.
Option OP.
That's where I'm just kind of deciding a whole bunch of different things in my head. because you're always trying to think, as commander, what can I do to help the team out right now? What can I say? What can I drop? What can I convert? What can I do? Right.
Can we get an engineer off Lima squad?
It's updated.
Okay, so here we're capping lumber works. Okay, so we have really good presence all around, and we're really pushing straight to the point, getting crossfire into it and everything. So everything's looking really good. Jig squad's back there, ready to go, ready to drop his OP and supplies maybe. And
MP40 west of me, cost exactly west on the other.
Oh, you know it. I'm not moving.
yeah, so this is where I jumped into Jig's OP or his TeamSpeak channel. Yeah, we use TeamSpeak. Yeah. So we use TeamSpeak, and so I could jump into his channel and talk to him only real quick, and say like, "Hey, don't bother moving. Just worry about getting that Gary up." But as you can see here, a couple minutes later, we lose the cap advantage, and so we gotta wait again. So there's no problem sacrificing one SL back there because one additional SL really isn't going to make too big of a difference. On the attack, right? So I'd rather just have sacrifice one and put him back there. So Jig, so Jig squad is in this case was assigned that role, right? It wasn't just some random squad lead. Yep.
Strong points at 1-0 on our last point.
Yeah, my OP is bad. Right
Okay, so at this point, I don't know how effective I'll be driving around the supply truck and dropping boxes because I know I'm just going to probably get killed in the truck. I mean, the enemy is going to be so close to the front line. And so in this case, it will just allow the team to have a little bit of comfort if they know what the strong point chevrons are. So in this case, it's 1-0.
Just reset it back from E2 and help the back.
No, remember, buddy. I know it's a common myth, but you do not count as cap weight if you're dead in the spawn in the point.
Charlie and George.
It's a very old wives' tale. Okay, so we're moving on here. We're still getting pressure on Lumberworks. The team is still surrounding and everything. I'm calling in another Katusha strike. Jig squad is still back here and everything. But we just cannot break ESPT's line. Like, we almost get there, but then they punch us right back in the face. That's what makes it so difficult.
Fox attack is H3. H3, red house, numpad 1, bottom left corner.
Yep.
Enemy supplies just landed. Mike OP mark.
Still fighting that front line. Nothing much I can really do. I just got to let the team try to do their best and win those frontline frags, and maybe we'll get lucky here. We do contest. We do start capping, but ESPT takes it right back.
He attacked.
28 minutes left on the clock. ESPT calls on a bombing run, clear out the front line. You lose a heavy here. Now keep in mind, you always got to keep an eye on your tanks to see if they're, because they did have infantry support before, but the infantry got wiped. And as soon as the infantry gets wiped, then it opens up the tanks to getting satcheled, because the infantry can go into the enemy infantry can go into those buildings, right? And they can just get right beside the tank, put a couple satchels down, and blow the tanks to bits. And the problem is, in competitive play especially, is that once tanks are in a position, they really can't back out too easily because they're going to expose themselves to the enemy armor, right? So it's all about angles in enemy in competitive armor play. Okay, so now we've gotten our attack on Lumberworks pretty much boxed out. The ESPT's attacking the front door. Gary's right here, so it's not looking so good.
They're right through G3.
Okay, so if we skip ahead here, front line's still getting pushed back, Our attempts at the flanks have failed. Attempts to go around have not gotten good. I still have Jig Squad back there, and pretty soon I think I'm going to call him right back up because it's obviously not going to happen.
We can do that.
And try and make my way to H5.
Okay, so front door is getting pushed in. I'm going to maybe call in another Katusha here.
We should have egg back.
ESPT starting to sneak around a little bit in the back line, so the rat and E3, so they're trying to punch through on the flanks to set up some flanking OPs.
Yeah, I told him I told him to stay back there because it looked like we were really promising at a cap.
Gas, I need you to get your OP up there and try and get a red zone up.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't drop the supply drop back there just because I didn't want them to accidentally discover Jig Squad back there. I mean, I could have, but I think I just saved the munitions at that point because I wasn't.
See if you could work your way to H4.
Just wanted to set up just Jig Squad to get support on his OP once they spawn up.
I was ready too. I should have left those supplies there.
As there's infantry pushing Mike.
Okay, so with under 23 minutes left, Jig Squad's pushing up now, and he's going to try to do some things because we're running out of time, right? So he'll try to establish some sort of flank on Lumberworks. We have the front door of our last point getting pushed in, but armor should be able to push up here and help bolster the defense. Recon's going up.
P4 is dead.
They are in.
That one. Able Garrison.
Gary in D3 is
18 minutes left on the clock.
Guys, F
Tiger dead.
One.
The F1 Gary just went down. I just killed the guy.
Okay, so we get a couple of Garys over here on the east-hand side, right? So maybe we'll get some flanking pressure onto Lumberworks from here while ESPT's just shoving straight forward into the strong cap.
Yeah, I'm working it. I killed the guy in our fucking right side HQ.
He's hit. Mike
Yeah, so ESPT's getting into the HQs now, and they're setting up shop back there, and they get put up their OPs and everything, right? So they're going to try to box us basically into middle HQ, and they got to be careful around artillery, right? Because if they set up around artillery, they could accidentally kill the artillery player and get 10 of their own, or 15. I forgot if it's 10 or 15 of their own players killed.
We hit him in the hole. We hit him in the hole. If you guys can just finish him with ET.
Okay, so this is if you're so what am I doing? Yeah, so me I'm just trying to head back here behind Distillery because once again I'm commander. There's only so much I could do with the abilities and everything. I'm not going to head to the front line and frag. It's not like I get some magical ability or armor to frag my heart out or anything like that. So I'm just heading to the back line to get those by the supplies just in case we have some sort of breakthrough where we're able to recap Lumberworks. Because I can't put down OP, I could put down garrisons though. And if I could be back there ready to go, maybe we could do a quick 1-2 punch still. I'm still having faith, guys. I'm still having faith here.
Gary that I missed.
Tiger unable.
Direct south of my OP.
Good flare, good flare.
Okay, so moving on here, everybody. The Garys on the east get wiped. I'm still back here waiting. Maybe we'll get a breakthrough. The front door is still looking dicey. ESPT's really just pushing everything in. You see all these bodies around the middle HQ. Just trying to hold the ground. Nobody spawning left. Nobody spawning right because ESPT controls those HQs. And so they're really pinning us down into this really small area.
Charlie 3.
Okay, so moving on. One of the OPs gets wiped attacking Lumberworks. I'm still back here by Distillery. Just hope with a hope and a prayer. Hope and a prayer? Ring and a prayer. Hope and a prayer. Wing and a prayer.
West side.
Okay, moving on. George Squads lights up. ESPT starts lighting up. I drop a last-second Katusha on the point. Well, not last second, sort of, though. Under 13 minutes left to go. Okay, still holding the line. Katusha kills a few bodies. Tanks are moving up into the point. Tanks are splashing around. We still have flanking OP, so maybe we can get some flank pressure on Lumberworks, but time is running out.
Get a Gary up by Uzan.
The god option, there's
Under 10 minutes left to go. Flanking pressure still trying to come in, but ESPT is able to detect that and just wipe those guys out. Because remember, they have to, going back to understanding the terrain, they can easily look across these open fields, right, and recognize, hey, there's bodies coming from there. Let's just keep an eye on the open fields while the rest of the infantry tries to punch front door. So they're able to monitor this pretty easily and this pretty easily. So, yeah.
Where's Han?
Okay, the east side push gets wiped. It's always various. A tear rolls down your eye when you see your lone squad lead in the east just get killed and their OP wiped. So all of this has been wiped here. We have a couple squad leads on the left-hand side. Jig Squad's going to try to get up a Gary. Maybe we can get a few last-minute SLs to move over to the east.
Recon play and expect bombing.
Once again, I'm still by Distillery. Just hoping. And once again, if I go back to the last point, it's not going to do anything. So here, another OP gets wiped on the east-west side of Lumberworks. We're essentially down to just defending our 5th point.
P4 sit once.
ASAP for Jake.
5 minutes left to go. Jake squad gets in the far back line. Maybe we'll get a double support drop. Maybe we'll spawn bomb in the back line while our tanks try to hold the 5th point.
I'm sending my full squad forward.
Okay, so Jake squad gets a Gary up back there.
Oops, sorry, right shot.
The Gary gets locked behind south of Lumberworks right here.
That was a good fight, though.
So under 4 minutes left to go, we won't be able to cap both points, right? Because it takes 2 minutes to cap each point. So we all know it's GG's. We'll just hold on to the 5th point as long as we can. I drop a Katusha, maybe, I don't know. 2 minutes left to go. The team's trying. We spawned a bunch back there. Gary's clear. I think ESPT wants the 4-1, right? So they're going to call bodies back. And well, of course they want the 4-1, right? Why would you want to lose a point?
Walk at north, south, and Roger.
So they call bodies back just to stop the cap and everything.
It's in F2 on the building comp.
City, Mike OP mark is probable.
And so, yeah, that's it to everybody. Once again, I think the biggest thing in this game, there's a couple things that I think were pivotal points in the game. Me not listening to the squad lead's call out for a garrison placement on the east side there, and so that should have been better handled. And then the front door of Lumberworks, and allowing that to really, that infection sort of grow and grow and grow versus stopping it right in the beginning. So I think those were two of the key moments in this match that we, because once again, we lost so much spawn time when we had to take down those garrisons on Distillery for the other one, right? And so that cost us, I think, big time. And so I think those were the two main things, if I had to guess. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this review. Hopefully you learned a few things about Hell Let Loose and competitive play. If you have any other questions or wondering why I did certain things or why the team did certain things, go ahead and drop that in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you, buddy. Okay, hope y'all have a good one.